What is going on, Wolfpack Nation? We are here once again, y'all, doing another preview here for this upcoming game versus Louisville. Friday night, 7 o'clock in the Carter, y'all. Looking forward to it here. And since we got a home game once again, I know you might kind of catch a little trend here, but when we have home games, we do giveaways. And yes, that was I didn't imagine that being a rhyme, but it works, so we're going to roll with it. So once again, we're giving away 2 tickets and a parking pass, y'all. We're going to set that 50 like threshold. So if you haven't already, again, hit that like button so we get that 50 like threshold. And then we're going to give away these 2 tickets and a parking pass to one of our subscribers who comments down in the video down below. Now keep in mind that this giveaway only applies for part 1 here. So if you watch it in part 2, you got to only enter here in part 1, y'all. So make sure to do that. And again, it's all free to do, y'all. So again, liking, subscribing, and commenting is all free to do. And for the comment, I want you to comment who was your favorite all-time NC State player and why. And again, we will pick one of those comments to win the 2 tickets and a parking pass free of charge, y'all, to the Louisville game here this Friday. And we will pick that winner on Thursday afternoon. So make sure to stay tuned and be ready as we will shout out the winner here. And so be ready to check it out and then reach out to us to claim your 2 tickets and parking pass if you are the winner. So now let's jump into it here. So we got a guy that's a friend of the podcast for sure, been on with us multiple times. I always enjoy having him on here, and it's been a while.
Appreciate it. Oh
yeah.
You met Ryan.
Yeah, our man, Ryan Williams here from Inside Pack Sports. Ryan, thanks for joining us once again, my man.
Yeah, glad to be back. Always a pleasure.
Oh, man, good deal. So let's jump right into it here, Ryan. You know, I know it was funny when I reached out to you. One of the first things you said was, "Oh, good," because I got a lot to say, you know, in terms of coming on the show. So, so looking forward to it. And I mean, you know, let's kind of start with it here. You know, obviously one of the biggest pieces of news heading into the game was news about Jordan Houston deciding to sit out the rest of the season, redshirt. And more, I mean, even though it wasn't necessarily said, I mean, reading between the lines, you know, more likely transfer somewhere else. And what was your initial thoughts on it? I missed your initial thoughts when you've heard that news.
Yeah, for me, it came as a shock because it's like what happened on a Wednesday, 2 days before game day, in the middle of a week, basically the middle of the season. And to me, it was a shock. Like I saw the tweet come across, and we hadn't heard of anything coming yet, and that popped up, and I was like, okay, that's weird. And I mean, it's a hard situation because it's like Houston's been there through so much, right? So he's basically been through 3 offense coordinators now. I think he was there when Dez and Roper were both sharing offensive coordinator duties.
Mm-hmm.
And he stuck through all that. He stuck through all the COVID, all the different challenges. And then, you know, he gets to his year now, and it's like he chooses to redshirt and then inevitably probably transfer. And you know, there was a lot of, I guess, comments online from people saying, oh, yeah, you know, he needs to leave and this and that. And it's hard to watch or it's hard to read, but you always have those fans. Because to me, I always wanted him to succeed because he's always been a state guy. He's stuck there through everything for the last 4 or 5 years. Yeah, he's a great guy. You know, we've talked to him before. He's very nice, down to earth, and you know, you just wanted to see him to succeed, but sometimes that always doesn't happen. So for me, it's more so like I'm happy for him. I think he's making a very good decision to get his degree, and then he's most likely going to transfer. Because I do think he's a talent, but maybe, you know, sometimes you just need to change scenery. So hopefully his final year he'll be able to get some good run, good flow. But it definitely came as a surprise because that I did not expect that to come through mid-season. That one of your top guys that was supposed to start all season is going to be transferred. Well, redshirt.
Yeah, absolutely.
And the weird thing for me was he still had one more game he could have played for us, you know?
Yep.
And he still would have been, you know, still would have had his red shirt. So it was just interesting to drop it when he did. So, but yeah, I think he's a great dude, and I wish him nothing but the best. I mean, he was always, I've talked to him a half dozen times, and he was always nice. So, you know, for all the haters, you know, like you said, we're going to have that part of our fan base, and it's a shame.
Right.
Yeah, and it's part of every fan base. because for us, is you get to know them on a personal level.
Mm-hmm.
And Doran, I'm not trying to jump ahead, but Doran talked about, there's real life matters that go on with teams. So it's like when you get to know these guys, you kind of connect to them on a personal level as
Mm-hmm.
opposed to an athlete. And you kind of realize that, sometimes they got to do what's best for them. And they sacrifice so much for the school. And just unfortunately, sometimes it doesn't work out.
Yep.
Yeah,
Yep. It's a great point.
absolutely. And so, kind of talking about, now seeing the first game without Jordan Houston, you got obviously Brandon Armstrong with 6 attempts. Michael Allen led the backfield with 10 attempts for 36 yards or 3.6 yards average. Kendrick Raphael, he came in early. He had 4 snaps total, 3 rushing attempts for 19 yards, so 6.3 yards per rushing attempt. So very solid. And I mean, I think that, that combined with what you saw against VMI, you were very excited about him. And so to, get the news that he got injured definitely hurts, especially since, just like we were already talking about, since Houston decided to redshirt the rest of the season. But I think the biggest thing that we're honestly gonna hurt from losing him the most is the pass protection. And I know that was one thing versus Virginia that I think took a huge step back. Maybe a combination between not having Dylan McMahon combined with not having Jordan Houston was that there was a lot more pressure on Brandon Armstrong this game compared to even Notre Dame and VMI. So, just kind of my 2 cents there. And I mean, like, because pass blocking wise, actually, Delbert Mims actually got a pretty great pass blocking grade, but then Michael Allen was at a 27 grade out of 100. So like he was piss poor. And he had 21 pass snaps and had 6 blocks and only connected on 28% of them. So definitely got to figure that out. That's definitely going to be something tough to handle. So I mean, kind of give me your thoughts, Ryan, on what you saw from the backfield. Just didn't seem like a lot of explosiveness in the running game. But I mean, I still feel like that there's a reason why that Jordan Houston transferred. I think the biggest reason was because they saw some great things in Michael Allen, but they also believe in the future of Kendrick Raphael. Would you agree with that synopsis?
Yeah, yeah. I think when Raphael jumped over 2 dudes, I kind of think that solidified him, uh, to get playing time. And I like Kendrick because he's a north and south guy. He's just going to get down the line. He's not going to go east to west. He's going to hit the hole and just go down, you know, down the field. Um, he, of course, before he got hurt, he was doing that, and I think Michael Allen is a great running back, but a lot in the Virginia game he was going side to side. And when he attacks up the field, he's dangerous. Like he's a great running back, great balance, great vision. But I think Raphael, he's more of a downhill guy. I think he
Yep.
plays bigger than he actually is, but at the same time, he has great balance. And then Mims, he's just going to be your goal line, your short
Bowling
yardage
ball.
package guy. Yeah, like a Reggie
Yeah.
Gillespie, basically.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
But I think blocking wise, I think the offensive line was good. I think there were holes there, uh, but it seemed like in the second half, Virginia really collapsed the box. They brought guys in, and the state wasn't able to run anything. I mean, I remember in the first half, I tweeted, I was like, keep running the ball because you were getting 4, 5, 6 yards a pop, and it's like just keep doing that. 4 yards a play, you're going to score a touchdown.
Yeah.
And I think Virginia just kind of condensed the box and took away that run game, and then just forced us to pass after that. Uh,
Hmm.
but I mean, it's tough because you lose Houston, and then you basically lose Kendrick in the same game, and now you're down to 2 running backs.
Hmm.
So it's tough. But
Yeah. But it's the realities. So.
yeah,
So kind of talking a little bit about the run blocking. Actually Kevin Concepcion, which we're going to talk about here in a little bit for sure. I mean, I think he's I mean he's the guy plastered all over the front pages of every NC State journal or newspaper, whatever you want to
Media.
call it,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
media you want to call it. But you know, kind of give me thoughts here. I mean, like I think that with Dylan McMahon being gone, this was kind of the first kind of taste of all right, what would life be like if one of our guys went down? Because I mean, up to this point, up to through VMI, you really hadn't lost anybody, knock on wood, which is a good thing. But now, like, because one of the biggest questions with the offensive line was not necessarily the starting five, it was more of the depth. And I mean, I think you've seen a lot of different guys go in. Like Anthony Carter. Jacarius Peak. Trying to look through here. You obviously got Tim McKay, Anthony Bell, and Lyndon Cooper, who actually had a solid rating per PFF. So solid there. But I mean, the one question which I wanted to ask you is, do you think that part of Brennan's issues maybe is the trust he has in the offensive line? Like, do you think that it's kind of taking him time to kind of grow that trust through game reps?
Possibly, because his last year at Virginia was a whole new offensive line.
That
Like
was not a good
his
offensive
stats
line.
dropped because they were awful. I mean, basically they lost their whole offensive line. I'm pretty sure they lost all five starters.
They did, yeah.
So it could be a mental thing where in the back of his head he's thinking, I got to get rid of this ball, and that's why it can sometimes come off as a one read, pass, and then he just either runs it or whatever. But it seems like when he does have time to go through his progressions and look off defenders, good things happen.
Yep.
And I felt like uh, Cooper, he played a good game. There was two blitzes right at the middle that he gave up. And for me, I think it's more so him never playing center or not playing center because you're just not used to that as a guard. And overall, I mean, I think the line has been good. I think they've gotten better. I think the first game was very iffy against UConn. It seemed like Armstrong was under pressure all the time, and we won that game because he was able to make plays because the line would break down. But I felt like against VMI and then against Virginia, they were a lot better. And once you get McMahon back, it'll help with that depth that you mentioned.
Before we continue, I want to take a quick second to tell you about our sponsor, Flatlands Jessup Insurance Group, that has your whole world covered, with agents in 5 offices throughout eastern North Carolina to help you decide how much coverage you need. Offering policies for home and auto, recreational vehicles, commercial, crop, health, life, and employee benefits. They are able to combine options to find a comprehensive solution that works for you. Flatlands Jessup protects the things you love so you can spend less time worrying and more time enjoying them. Find them on Facebook and Instagram at Flatlands Jessup. You can also visit their webpage at www.flatlandsjessup.com. So please make sure to go and check them out. So let's kind of move into it, really kind of fully talking about Brennan Armstrong here. Obviously this is, like besides, we have kind of the media front page news guy, and then we have the most common conversation topic, which right now is Brennan Armstrong for sure. And I mean, I'll be honest and say that this game against Virginia really undercut my expectations of what we were going to see from Brandon Armstrong. 15 for 31, so 48.4 completion percentage, 180 yards, 2 touchdowns, and interception. And really watching this game, I wouldn't necessarily say that a lot of the offensive issues were necessarily his fault in my mind. A lot of really what I thought was that, to be honest, and we'll kind of try and keep this broken up between wide receivers and quarterback, but it just didn't seem like the wide receivers were really getting much separation. Like every single throw that
Except
he saw,
one dude.
except one dude.
Who
Kevin
was that
Concepcion.
again?
Yeah.
Kevin Concepcion. Yeah,
I think
yeah,
he's
no.
like
Yeah.
number 10. I'm
Yeah,
not,
right?
I'm not
Yeah.
sure.
And number
Yeah.
one in your hearts, Greg.
That's right. That's right.
Yeah, no, exactly. And so, like, do you think that maybe, I mean, that a lot of the negative talk against Brennan from NC State fans should be less concentrated on Brennan and maybe more spread out between maybe some play calling, which I think we could probably make some issues about, combined with wide receiver play as well?
Yeah. To me, I feel like a nice offense, and I'm sure you guys feel the same way. We thought there was going to be more motion, more misdirection in the offense, and we're in the what going into the fifth game, and after the fourth game, I'm like,
Yeah.
this offense looks very just straightforward.
Mm-hmm.
It's basically like Armstrong's just dropping back, throwing the ball. There's no play
Mm-hmm.
action. There's no getting the ball out on the sidelines, rolling out.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And to me, so the play where Casey scored his first touchdown, like that was just nasty. Like if you go back and watch that play, like the play design, the route by KC, just nasty. And it's like that's more of the stuff I expect to see with the offense. I don't know if it's a thing of where they're trying to work everyone in. Um, but to me, and we've talked about it before, you have to start condensing the wide receiver rotation. Like you have to get your guys out there that need to be out there. Like
Yeah.
I want to see us throwing jump balls and go routes to Rosner. Loveless saying he has his place. He's a great receiver, but to me, we should be throwing go routes to Rosner or Collins, who are 6'3", 6'4", 6'5",
But
in
at the
that
same
area.
time, you need that line protection, right? So if you're not, they kind of go one hand in hand, and so I don't think we've gotten to the point where we can, push the ball down the field with the trust on that line at
Right.
sometimes.
Yeah, and I think a lot of it, going back to our old, or what we just talked about, you need your running backs to block,
Mm-hmm.
because that's
You're
the
right.
big thing. Because it's like if you keep your running back in the block, then that's one less receiver. But if he's not blocking, then you're basically playing 10 on 11.
Yep.
Right.
Yep.
But I mean, it's a great point. I mean, you have to, if to push the ball down the field, you have to have time to make those plays. You have to make time, to do those reads.
Yep.
But for me, I would like to see more of a mix-up on the offense. I thought that Penix would be a huge part of the offense, and he's getting one catch for 6 yards a game, if
Yeah.
that.
Yep.
And to me, he was like that gadget player that Anai always has in his offense that would be able to really thrive within the hashes, and we just haven't seen much of it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Conversely, I think Tootle had like one or two catches. So just that position group in general has not really been used that much.
No.
Like we thought they would potentially be, like you were saying, Ryan.
Yeah, and I think in that position, it's been more so Peak. I think Ja'Carri's
Mm-hmm.
Peak has been playing more
Mm-hmm.
tight end because he's kind of undersized right now as offensive lineman. So they have him as tight end just blocking.
Yep.
So it's tough because it's like if I'm Virginia and I see Peak coming in, the first thing I'm thinking is like, this is most likely either going to be a run or a short pass. Like you're not going to be doing, you're not, Peak's not going to go out on a route. Like you're not going to be
Right.
worrying about him catching passes.
Right. Same with Mims,
So
right?
yeah,
When you see Mims in the game. Yeah.
you're not going to be throwing a running back screen to him or an out route to him. Like he's
Right.
most likely going to either be running the ball or blocking.
Yep.
So then you
Yeah.
don't even have to worry about covering him.
Right.
And I want to kind of blow your mind here a little bit, but I know that we kind of talked a lot about the UConn game, and even going into it, and even afterwards, saying, yeah, Doran really, and I really tried to keep the playbook really vanilla for UConn to not show too much
Yeah.
versus Notre Dame. But I saw some things versus UConn, like I think it was like the first drive where we did kind of like a really creative like counter run where basically Brandon Oshon became a blocker,
Yep.
and like I'm thinking about creative plays like that, being like, I haven't seen really creative stuff like that,
Yep.
since UConn. Really, like just like you were saying, Ryan. Like I mean, everything's been really just kind of just straightforward, and like not, just like you said, like not a lot of crossing routes, but also too, I don't know. It's just a kind of a head scratcher, but kind of one other things which I wanted to mention though, and again, I want to make it very clear that we are not. I'm not going to say whatsoever that this is anybody's, like this is one player's fault, or that somebody's not a good player, things like that. I'm just saying straight from what I see, and I'm just saying straight for what the stats say. And we got to talk about it. We can't say like every player is amazing. They've done a great job for us so far. Like we got to be real from time to time. And I'm sitting here saying, as much as the coaches love Keon Lesane, and as much as Terrell Timmons really popped off the page last year, like Keon Lesane,
Where
like
are you?
where are again, Keon Lesane right now has a 47% reception percentage. Like if the targets are thrown to him, he catches 47% of them. And secondly, kind of, looking here as well is, I mean, he's gotten 17 targets. He has the second most targets on the team. And also as well, in terms of receiver grade, he actually is ninth. And I mean, behind guys like Trent Penix, Javonte Vereen, Julian Gray, Michael Allen, you name it. And also, too, I remember one play specifically, which I was frustrated by, where we kind of ran a kind of like a quick pass out, and you basically have Keon Lesane versus the cornerback one-on-one, and then Keon Lesane is not able to shake that corner. But literally, I mean, to me, it was a great play call. Why? Because literally, if Keon could beat that one guy, there was nobody within 15 yards of him. Like he would have gotten a lot of yards out of it. So I'm just sitting here saying, like I love Keon, like I love Terrell, but just they have not been effective at all, man. So I mean, like
It,
maybe
it
it's
kind of
Terrell.
reminds me. It kind of reminds me of Devin Carter last year. He
Yeah,
had flashes here and there of catches, but it wasn't like a dominant season like we fully expected from him. Like we were like,
right.
okay, this is going to be a guy. he's been here. He's going to know the offense, or at least be able to, let's say the defense take on the offense. But they're both kind of a leader. And then the season comes, you're like, what's going on? So, but to me, if Lassane is your guy and you're a nine, you find ways to get him the ball if he's a playmaker, right? So I think it must have been, I think it was his first game against UConn or against Notre Dame. Like we ran reverses to him, at least get him the ball, try to get him to make plays. Um, but like you said, it's for me not seeing Timmons do anything. I'm like, this is weird because it's like last year MJ was just throwing him up the ball and the dude was just making crazy catches.
Yeah, he
like,
balled out in the Duke's Mayo Bowl.
Yeah, like he was doing everything. And then against Virginia, I think he had maybe one catch. I think it was.
Well, he did.
It was like a
He got his
9-yard
head taken
out route.
off.
Yeah, it was kind of cheap. But yeah, and then after he came back, I think it was like a 9-yard out route. And like the route he ran, they showed the replay, and I'm like, it was nasty. So I'm like, our receivers not getting open? Is Armstrong not seeing them? Like, what's going on here?
Yeah. Yeah, no, and to me, it just kind of is one of those questions, especially too because like going to the season, like I know that when we did the Murphy Center tour with Savage Wolves, that like one of the questions I was asked was like, who's going to be the breakout on each side, and Julian Gray was in the room and he was like very like vocal, being like, oh, this guy, like me, like watch me, like watch it happen, and I mean I think that with Julian Gray, it's just. To me, it's frustrating because we have this true freshman who's only played 4 games of college football, and he is running circles around every other wide receiver on our roster. And again, that's not a dig. That's just facts. Again, I mean, like he has 33 targets, twice as much as any other wide receiver targets-wise. 238 yards catch, which is also double more than any other wide receiver. Has 2 of the 5 receiving touchdowns we have so far. Is graded on PFF as the highest wide receiver grade for the season so far. And again, this is a guy who once again, literally not even a year ago was playing high school football, and like the sky's the limit for him. Again, we'll kind of focus on him here a little bit, but I think that's kind of the biggest frustration. Is like, dude, you have this guy, like if we have DJ Collins or Keon or Julian or Porter, like step up, then we're gonna be in great shape because you can highlight that dude, but you need guys to kind of help take the focus off him, which I'm not really seeing right now.
Yeah, so like my question to you, like think about is like, is it a thing of where Casey and Armstrong have a connection because Casey's always playing the same position. He's playing the majority of the snaps. He's always on the field, so Armstrong's always normally throwing to him. He's in almost all your packages.
That was my exact
So it's
thought.
like you're used to his speed, you're used to where he's going to be at. But then every other position, you have dudes just coming in and out left and right for different packages. It's like you never have a set package or a set of personnel that you're having on the field. So it's different speed, right? So Gray's much faster than Lassane. Rosner's much bigger than Gray. And you're throwing to all these different targets. And, again, maybe I'm just overthinking it, but
no, and Greg, I want to kind of hear your thoughts, but I mean, just to kind of feed into your thought here, Greg. I mean, so literally, Kevin Casey's played 135 pass snaps, Keon Lassane's played 125, and then it's a huge drop. Julian Gray plays 84, Porter Rooks 72, so it's a huge drop. So basically, after Keon and Casey, it's been basically just a mix of
plug
guys.
and play.
From there.
Yeah. No, my thought was before Ryan said it was like, you have 1 or 2 dudes on the field all the time, and to Ryan's point, you know exactly where they're going to be. You know how fast they're going to get to that spot. So in the back of my mind as a quarterback, you know that dude's going to be there in 2 seconds, 3 seconds, whatever it is. And the timing is everything. So, yeah, I completely agree with what Ryan's point was on that. I mean, I just can't add anything more. I mean,
and like even that interception that Armstrong threw against Virginia, like at the time, I'm like, dude, what are you throwing? That's an awful pass. But it could be a thing of where it probably most likely was a miscommunication. I think he thought Vareem was going to go out, do an out, but he did a dig instead to the inside. And it's like that timing, the consistency isn't there, and it can lead to mistakes like that.
Right. Mm-hmm. Yeah. I mean, the naked eye. I mean, we as fans don't know what the actual play call was. To your point, right? And so, with looking at first, he's like, dude, he stared him right down and threw it right to the defender. But to that point, I mean, 1 in or 1 out. makes every bit of difference. And unfortunately, the dude was right there to make the catch on the
Right.
UVA side.
Well, especially watching it back, or just watching it even in the moments, like you're saying to yourself, like Brandon Armstrong's the guy with enough experience that only way that you throw a ball like with nobody there for NC State side is basically because of a more likely miscommunication. It's more likely not like I don't know where to throw it, so I'm just going to throw it in this area. Like, you know, I mean, he's got enough experience. He's not going to make mistakes to that level.
Yeah,
You know?
and the other part of that is quarterbacks throw to a spot, right? So they know that their guy's going to be, within, a 2 or 3 yard radius, and so they can make the catch. So when you throw it to exactly to that spot, chances are, like Ryan's saying, it's probably a miscommunication on someone's part.
Well, like that first drive, the 3rd down where Virginia brought all out blitz and Armstrong threw it and it looked like it was short. So a lot of fans around me saying, like, man, like, he didn't have the arm strength to get it there. And it's like, no, I think it was Keon. He slipped, and so like if he didn't slip, he would have been there, and then he probably would have scored a touchdown, honestly, because literally he had a wide receiver and then only one defensive back over there, so he would have scored a touchdown. So again, so I think that we're under the same consensus. It's definitely not all focused on Brandon here, but I do want to ask some questions here about some other weapons that we talked about a lot preseason, but have not talked a lot about since. Talk about KC as well as talk about the defensive side as well, which I don't think needs as much talk as the offense does. But again, we'll definitely, we'll see. We'll talk about more here in part 2, y'all. But once again, y'all, if you haven't already, make sure again enter into our giveaway, 2 tickets and a parking pass for Louisville. Make sure again to just make sure we hit that 50 like threshold, y'all, and then make sure to again leave a comment of who is your favorite all-time NC State player and why, and make sure you're a subscriber, and then we will pick that person Thursday afternoon, and we will make sure it's in the comment below. So make sure to stay tuned, so that way you'll see if you won that prize. Ryan, want to give an opportunity again. Always a pleasure. Anything? What's going on with IPS right now? I know that anybody who's a State fan that's been a State fan for more than a couple months knows of IPS and knows where to check it out. But anything unique right now for fans to know when it comes to IPS world?
Man, it's kind of a slow period right now. Recruiting's kind of died down with high school football starting. But I'm pretty sure they got some stuff coming up soon with basketball. Basketball's coming about here in a month.
Yeah,
So
that's right.
and then get to start covering that and be fun all over again.
Yeah, practice starts this week, right?
Yep.
That's right. Love it. All right, y'all. So, again, make sure to tune in for part 2, y'all, as we continue this conversation breakdown and preview for Louisville. We'll see y'all for part 2, and go Pack, y'all.